Hi, my name is Emma and let's talk spooky stuff. Welcome back, friends. This is another recommendations video. As always, I ask what you want to see and then I give you recommendations based on that. Pretty simple. I ask over on Instagram just because it's easiest to collect information that way. So make sure you're following me at Spookyastronauts. If you have not seen a video like this before, I have a whole playlist down there. If you want to have a lot of recommendations for your watch list, if you're looking to fill up your watch list, these videos are going to do it for you. So make sure you grab a pen and a long piece of paper because we're about to get stuck into it. Luna Moon Baby says that they've started a teaching job and they're looking for recommendations of horror movies about children. Firstly, congratulations, you would have been there for at least a week now, so I hope the new job is going well. I'm not too sure why you're looking to freak yourself out, but I've gone a step further and not only made these two next recommendations about kids, they're also about kids in school, so hopefully this hits the nail on the head. Starring Elijah Wood and Rainn Wilson, the movie is about a mysterious sickness that sweeps an elementary school, and now the oddball faculty must work together. In the same vein, Little Monsters from 2009 is an adorable Australian comedy starring Lupita Nyong'o. She plays Miss Caroline, and it follows a class on a field trip that takes a dramatic turn when the zombie apocalypse begins. They're both pretty fun and lighthearted films, so I think it's a good pick. Next, I was asked for a horror movie that challenges the normal horror tropes. The thing is, there is a lot of films that make fun of horror cliches. Films like Final Girls, Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, The Cabin in the Woods, and Shaun of the Dead. But if you really want to break free from the stereotypes and the horror cliches and the horror tropes, get outside of Hollywood. Anything foreign is gonna completely switch it up. And for this, I would highly recommend Under the Shadow. This is an Iranian film about a mother and daughter fighting to survive in their haunted home in war-torn Tehran. It's really well done and completely original. Next, I was asked for some LGBTQ plus spooky watches, and I have an awesome one for you. I recently got around to LYLE from 2014. The film is about a lesbian couple that move into a house with a history of grief. I don't want to say too much, but it has a really unique feel to it, and I rented this one on Vimeo. Next, Ghoul from Outer Space, which I love your Instagram, asked for something similar to The Strangers. If you want to go with something really similar, I'd say Vacancy from 2007. Vacancy is a horror thriller starring Kate Beckinsale and Luke Wilson. It's about a couple that become stranded in a motel and realize that they're being watched, and evil is closing in on them. But on the extreme end of something similar to Strangers, not exactly, is Funny Games and Eden Lake. Funny Games has two versions. The original is an Austrian film about two men who terrorize a family, and the remake is also done by the same director and stars Naomi Watts, which is always a bonus. Both are shot pretty identical. I'd probably just recommend checking out the original, but the remake is definitely worth it as well. I like both of them, which is quite rare. And Eden Lake from 2008 is a UK production about a couple who try to escape from a group of youths who are terrorizing them on what was meant to be a romantic weekend getaway. And if you're looking for something a little more thriller-ish while staying true to home invasion, why not go for a revisit of Panic Room from 2002? Jackie Does Movies, hi Jackie, asked for a recommendation of films that were made for kids but turned out to be completely terrifying. I get a little bit iffy talking about scary movies because different things scare different people, but one movie I think is pretty terrifying and I think we can collectively agree. It's an animation. Do you know what I'm going to talk about? It's Coraline. Somehow this animation is labeled as a drama family film. The film follows an adventurous 11-year-old girl that discovers an alternate dimension of her world, but her doppelganger family are hosting sinister secrets. And I seriously have no idea how I would have taken this if it came out when I was a kid. As an adult, I was still terrified. But a movie that did come out when I was a child, which is also animation again, that was quite dark, is James and the Giant Peach. I was a youngin' when James and the Giant Peach came out in 1996. The animation is whimsical yet depressing, and it definitely kept me up at night. The film is about an orphan who lives with his evil aunts and runs away with a bunch of bugs in a giant peach. When you break it down, it's a tale of loneliness and neglect, not to mention the terrifying scene where they describe, and I quote, his parents dying in 35 seconds flat. Great film, but it did haunt me and obviously left some scars. Both of these films, by the way, animation and based on books. Max Camp 13 asks for underrated Blumhouse films, and I mean, I watched so many bad Blumhouse movies when I ranked them all, if you want to check out that video. Well, I did a top 20 ranking, and there was a lot that slipped through the cracks that I couldn't put in my top 20, but I still thought they were very much worth a watch. And one I'm really excited to talk to you about is Curve. The film isn't anything completely groundbreaking, but it's a little bit of a different angle, and the main character is pretty badass. The film is about a woman who is driving across the country and is taunted by a psychotic man. Curve really took me by surprise with some of the situations she got into. It's pretty gripping and well worth a watch. Another film I want to mention, which is more of a plea, is The Vigil. This is a film that was released a little while back in some theaters because obviously global pandemic, but I did go and see this at the cinema and I did a video on it. I highly enjoyed this film and I want to know if it's being released around the world, because if it does get a VOD release in your country, I think it might slip through the cracks. The Vigil is about an ex-Orthodox Jewish man who must return to his faith to look after a body as its soul passes. This one is definitely worth a watch, so please keep an eye out for it in your country. Samantha asked for some recent gory horror, and on that, I think it's really hard to determine what each of us think is recent, because I think like 10 years ago was recent. Some people don't, I don't know. But these are ones in the last 5 years. The Perfection hits the gore pretty hard. If it's not for the blood, there's the vomit. I wasn't a huge fan of this one, but it did split audiences for a reason. And it's the unexpected gore that really got us all talking. The film is a psychological horror thriller about a music prodigy that meets the new star pupil of her former school. Raw is always a good option if you're in the mood for a well thought out French film, but not so much if you're about to eat dinner. This is a fantasy drama horror about a vegetarian woman who is studying to become a vet, but during a hazing ritual at her college, she is tempted by meat, sending her into a spiral of strange cravings. Love him or hate him, Rob Zombie has a very unique storytelling stylization. The more grit, the better. And in his 2016 film 31, it is literally a fight to the death. The film is about carnival workers that are kidnapped and made to play a violent game against sadistic clowns. As I mentioned, the film is pure grit and gore. Patrick asked for some scary and dark psychological horrors. In fact, a lot of you asked for this. I chose a mix of thriller and horror that have some mysterious elements to them. First, Coherence. This is a really well done mystery sci-fi horror about a group of friends that experience strange side effects when a comet passes over. It's a twisted psychological ride with lots of knots. Oldboy is a classic directed by Chan Wook Park. The film is about a man who has been held in captivity for 15 years. He is now released and must track down his tormentor. I put it in here because I know some of you have been putting this one off, and I tell you, it's a classic for a reason. And then there's Hole. This is a strange social mind bender that has never really left my mind. In this one, 4 teenagers explore an underground bomb shelter, but not everything goes to plan when they try to leave. Liam says he wants to watch something like Ken Park. Help me! Firstly, are you okay? That's a lot. Second, I got you. You're on the Larry Clark train already. Why get off? Bully from 2001 is probably my favorite film by Clark. It's a dark film about a group of teenagers who conspire to murder. The film is also based on a true story. Kids from 1995 is another dark and depressing film about teenagers who are in way over their heads and have no idea of the ramifications of their actions. I can't say too much more as I don't want this to be demonetized. Stepping away from Clark, but still keeping the same writer of Kids, we have Gummo, a film about a small town torn apart by natural disaster. The teenagers now live desperate lives trying to cling on anything passing by. My next request was for something for someone who loved Ready or Not, and I think the best match for this is You're Next. Directed by Adam Wingard, the film is about a family that comes under attack by a group of masked killers during their wedding anniversary. It's a great kick-ass film, and please go in blind. And the last one for today is a question asking for any weird art house films like Under the Skin. For this, you could easily just do A24 roulette. Just go onto their website and just scroll, land on something, and you got yourself an art house gem. But I'm gonna recommend The Untamed. This is a Mexican horror film about a couple who find a meteorite that changes their lives forever. I'm not gonna say too much more because I don't want to spoil it, but it's a wild ride, and I think it's the most similar film I've seen to Under the Skin, but completely different at the same time. So enjoy that. I hope you are having a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for watching this. If you found this helpful and you like these videos, please give it a thumbs up so I know to continue and do some more in the future. Again, make sure you're following me over at my Instagram. It's just the easiest way for me to collect these kind of questions. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. I do 2 videos every single week talking about horror movies and thrillers, giving you lots of recommendations, and also just diving in and discussing things with you. Thanks for being here, and I'll talk to you very soon. Stay spooky. Bye.